And again, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to wherever you're watching from all over the world. And my name is RJ Ledesma. Welcome to the RJ Ledesma podcast. In my podcast, I interview the country's pioneering business personalities and entrepreneurs to learn more about how they think about doing business. What are their success secrets? Can we replicate those success secrets? How have they pivoted? How have they innovated their businesses during this pandemic? And what opportunities do they see emerging in this now normal? Now, is there a business personality or entrepreneur that you would like me to interview here on the podcast? Please let me know. Drop me a message. I would love to pick their brains and learn more from them. We are also live right now on Kumu, CBRC TV, Global Pinas TV, and the Bounce Back Network. If you are enjoying the podcast and you are learning a lot from it, please subscribe and invite more people to listen to the RJ Ledesma podcast. You can also catch us on YouTube. Now, I'd like to let everybody know that before we start this podcast, here's a quick shout out to our friends from Vessel. Vessel PH can help you future-proof your business by boosting your digital presence and making sure that you can attract more customers and more sales. If you want to know more about them, please click the link on my description tonight. A special friend all the way from Singapore, pero pusong Pinoy pa rin po. Our next guest is Elle Quan, who is the founder and chief marketing officer of Medhyve. Elle is a business enabler and, wow, Asia's go-to expert when it comes to healthcare and technology events. She's also an author, international presenter, and speaker, as well as a producer and convener of high-level business conferences and exhibitions. Elle co-founded an AI-driven digital marketplace for hospitals and clinics in emerging markets, which is exactly what Medhyve is all about. Medhyve empowers small to medium hospitals with an online medical marketplace. And she'll tell us a bit more about that later on. Now, it recently raised $407,500 US in pre-seed investment in a round co-led by Silicon Valley global venture capital firm Pegasus Tech Ventures and Foxmont Capital Partners. These additional funds will be used to help grow their business, especially here in the Philippines. I want to find out a bit more about what Medhyve is all about, what are her plans to grow it, and what is the future for medical procurement here in the Philippines and in Southeast Asia. Please welcome my guest all the way from Singapore. Please welcome Ms. Elle Quan.
Hello, RJ. Good evening. My goodness, thank you for your
Hi, Elle.
introduction.
Kumusta?
Mabuti po. You know, your introduction makes me sound better than I really am. But thank you so much.
Well, that's what
Thank
we
you for
endeavor. We
having
make
me.
sure we put our guest in the best light possible. And Elle, before we actually went into this conversation and I was reading your background, I thought that you were actually Singaporean because your name Elle Quan, di ba? It doesn't sound. I mean, of course, it's Chinese, di ba? But you can't tell. I thought it was Singaporean, but you're actually Pinoy, right?
Ako po ay Pinay. Yes, yes. Ako po ay
Ah,
dugong Pinay. So,
Dugong
I
Pinay.
am,
Oh,
yes, I'm based in Singapore, but yes, I'm Filipina in heart.
wow. And how can I just ask how long have you been living there in Singapore?
Long enough. So, about 18 years. Tagal na, di ba?
Long enough. I like
Yes.
that. Hinahanap ko yung accent. Hinahanap ko yung accent ngayon eh.
Pwede. But no, you know,
Pwede.
ano muna na, yes, pwede rin. Yeah, so it's long enough for us to, you know, I have three kids and they consider Singapore home. And they're all going to school. This is where they grew up in. But, you know, it's never left my heart to contribute somehow in the Philippines. And you were mentioning earlier, I was able to do that through a startup, which later on I can talk to you about. And this is called MedHive.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a bit more. Like I often tell people, what was the elevator pitch for people who are listening here for the first time? Elevator pitches are what you usually give when you're talking to an investor, and it's called an elevator pitch because
Oh,
you have maybe just a few seconds, just like riding an elevator, to tell them exactly what
right.
you want to say as to what MedHive is all about. So, Elle, can you briefly share muna what MedHive is all about?
So MedHive is a B2B medical supplies market space. So what we're trying to do is we're going to transform the way that hospitals and clinic buy their medical supplies. So think of it as a very efficient Lazada for medical supplies. You know?
I like that. The
So
Lazada for
yes,
medical supplies, parang
yeah,
ganyan.
but we're more than that because
Okay.
we have AI driven you know capabilities that we can provide to both our buyers and our sellers because we're a marketplace. So yeah,
Because it's a marketplace. It's an AI
yes,
driven marketplace. And just to familiarize other people who might be hearing these terms for the first time, B2B, of course, is business to business, and AI is, of course, using artificial intelligence. I will get a bit more into that later on and explain really what's great about what you're building over here and how you came about this idea. Now, I understand it from an elevator pitch standpoint, but now let me challenge you a bit. If you were to explain to our parents' generation, di ba? Like for my dad, I
mm-hmm.
often tell my dad he doesn't like listening to my show because sometimes, what are you talking about over there? So if I was to bring this down to somebody who was like 70 plus years old, how do I
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
explain what does MedHive do and how does it help him in the end? What's the end benefit to
Okay.
somebody like him?
Okay, let me make it simpler then. What we do is we make hospitals save money, save time in buying their supplies so that they can translate this to cost savings to patients like you and me.
I see. Okay. And then how exactly do you help hospitals save money? Is it sort of like well like for me the way I think about it is that okay, I've took for this equipment
Mm-hmm.
and I have to get three different bidders for that equipment so I can compare
Right,
the rates. But
right,
that's the
right.
most
Yeah.
basic way sometimes that we do. How do you do it more efficiently? Ano ginagawa ng MedHive?
Okay, so what we found out really is that the smaller hospitals, we're not talking about the bigger hospital chains. So these are the level one, level two hospitals in the province. They don't have a very sophisticated way of getting these supplies. So when I say supplies, this can range from everything from cotton to syringe to pharma to the device that are used to diagnose and treat patients. And what happens is they do it in the old-fashioned way, which is whoever knows who a particular person selling that item sa kanya nakukuha. When in fact,
Ah,
with information, with the availability of information and data, you can find a better supplier, which will give you, lower prices, better package, even better after sales service. So we are making this process more efficient so that it's lesser prone to fraud, and also
palakasan, fraud,
yes,
corruption, all those
exactly,
different things, right?
palakasan, the red tape, because it happens, it does happen,
Yes.
like sometimes the
Especially in
supplier.
developing countries. Oh.
Yes, unfortunate, and it's because these hospitals usually, and we're talking about private hospitals for now, they don't have
Mm-hmm.
access to this information. So if you can imagine a hospital, a family run hospital that's been there for what, 20, 30 years, yung supplier
Mm-hmm.
nila 30 years ago, yun lang kilala nila, when
Yan
in
pa rin
fact,
supplier nila.
correct.
Oo.
And probably the next supplier could give it to you for 40-50% lesser. See?
I
But you
see.
probably don't have that information because before internet, mahirap nga naman yun, di ba? Kakatok ka
Oo, oo.
isa-isa sa mga. But now we have all that data in our website, in our marketplace, and they can do that faster, better, cheaper.
Okay.
That's how we help.
Okay, I understand that part. Now, what I need people to better understand, I guess, is this one, diba? It's like saying, okay, I can be a website basically, which is a
Mm-hmm.
marketplace where you just list everything there, right? So you take the effort of going through that one. What does artificial intelligence bring to the picture
Oh, okay.
that improves the
All right.
marketplace, that makes it easier for that small private hospital or small level one provincial hospital to
Right.
get a better deal? What does it do?
Oh, okay, so our AI will be based on the data that we will be collecting throughout throughout the years. Because we're a startup, nagsisimula pa lang po tayo. So we're
Mhm.
still in the process of collecting all of these data. So imagine us, sometime in the future, we have all the information that says hospital A will be needing X, Y, Z, products
Mm.
in 1 week. So now a vendor who will have that information can now send this, a quotation that says this is the best price. So that's what we're trying to do is we're going to have a very intelligent predicting capability so that hindi na sila mag-overstock, understock, no stock. And this is usually something that happens again when we were doing our research, our market research. There are
Mhm.
some hospitals who literally overstock, so gagamitin nila yung
Mhm.
ibang hospital rooms to keep this, or they run out of stock because they don't have proper planning, they don't have that tool. So we want to give that to them, and they don't need to enroll in masters in supply chain management or buy
Mhm.
these very expensive tools. We don't That's what we're trying to do. Hindi na nila kailangan mag-add ng capital expense. We're a plug and play thing. They can use us and they can benefit from all the tools that we can give
So
them
if you're
access
plug
to.
and play, does it mean that are you a what we would call a subscription as a service provider?
That's actually very good question. So right now, no, we don't charge for you to use it. As an entity, as a clinic, as a hospital, we don't charge you. So the prices you see on our platform will be what you pay. We
Mhm.
work on a very simple model, which is a success fee that is chargeable
Okay,
to our vendor side. There you go.
uh,
We
I
also
see.
don't charge them for any listing.
Okay, so basically, it's just success fees. Whenever you get to sell, that's when you make the money coming from the
That's
from
right.
the supplier.
That's right.
That's correct. Now, I'm really looking again at this business that you're trying to establish, and it's a really great idea. And we'll go a bit more into your background as to why this opportunity or this pain point occurred to you. But before I ask that question, I want to ask:
Mhm.
when you were doing this one, when you first put up Medhive, were you bootstrapping? And for people who don't know what bootstrapping means, it's basically you were using your own money, you're burning your own money to be able to put it
Yes.
up.
Oh yes, very much. I don't know any, at least in my network, any startup founder who hasn't bootstrapped, because you have to be the first person who believes in what you're trying to do, right? So you put your resources into it. So yes, we did bootstrap, and then we were very blessed to then have funds from angels. So you have family and friends believing in you, and that's when we started to understand ah our idea is being validated. It's not just us who believes in us, but there are other people who believe in us. So that's really the start of it.
I see. I see. Very, very interesting story as to how you got things off the ground. And we're going to accelerate a bit more and say, congratulate you again for your recent 400,000 US dollar
Thank you
pre-series
so
funding.
much.
I mean, I'm guessing that that's the biggest funding you're getting so far, right?
So far, yes. Yes,
So far,
that is
because
correct. Malaking bagay po
I
siya.
forgot.
This is a big push for us to get to our ambition, and we know it's not going to stop here. This is another milestone, but yes, you're right, it's the biggest funding so far to date.
And that's really exciting. And when I often have founders over here talking about their business, it's two things. First, of course, it's a sense of validation and relief. But on the
Right.
flip side, I tell myself, that's somebody else's money that I have to handle now, and
That's
it's kind of
true.
it gets a bit, it gets a bit, for some people it's a bit mortifying, it's a bit terrifying, because now you have
That's
to
true.
really shape up agad, and your learning curve has to be very quick. So how does it feel right now to have actually gotten the funding already?
So you are right. It's a combination of relief. Now we can grow faster, but also added stress because now you should grow faster. See, and like a battlefield, and more ammunition is given to you. That means you have to cover more ground. You cannot stay where you are. See, you've been given more, more bala and whatever. So now you have to move forward. You have to now conquer more territories. And that's where we are. We've grown from a team of three. I have two very brilliant co founders. And now we are about a team of 30, and we're still growing.
Wow, times 10, huh? Incredible.
Yes.
At least
And it's a
X10
wonderful
when it
team.
comes to at least your people.
Yes,
Okay.
we're also that's also very an exciting thing because our people are well, they're top notch. We don't have an easy recruitment process. We try to get really the people who are not only good at what they do, but they also understand our vision, so that when we journey together, magkakasama kami. There you go. So shout out to my
And
Medhyve family. Hello.
hello, Medhyve. Are they listening? If you guys are listening from
They
the Medhyve
are. They
family,
are
why
full force.
magparamdam naman kayo sa chat box. Say hi over here to Elle there in the chat box here in Facebook Live. Now, I have an interesting question because you're based in Singapore. Are the rest of the co-founders, are they also based out of Singapore, or are they based here in the Philippines?
Okay, so we have a fully remote team, and I am based in Singapore. The rest of my team, they're all in Philippines, but they're scattered. So we have people from Baguio, and then all the way to,
Wow.
you have Bataan, Manila, Marikina, Bicol to Davao. So we're scattered, but we're working well. I think it's because we are a digital business. So we have to practice what we preach. And, if we say business can be done digitally, we're the first one to prove that. Here we are. We're a fully remote team, and it's working very well.
And I'm looking at the chat box right now saying hi. It's Nigel Lirio, one of the co-founders. Hi, Nigel.
Oh,
Thanks so much
Nigel is
for.
my CEO. Hi,
Yes,
Nigel.
that's why. Hi, Nigel. Thanks so much for listening to us. Sana sumama ka rin dito. It's going to be fun over here on this episode of this podcast. Now, I want to go a bit more now into your story, Ellen, how it started, and how it dovetails eventually into becoming part of MedHive's story. So that's why I was asking earlier on about how long have you been in Singapore, because hi, Josiah Eufemio. Sabi niya, hi, RJ and Ellen.
Oh,
Thanks again to Josiah. He was the first one to reach out to me, and that's why we were able to
yes.
put this all together.
My
And the funny thing
superstar.
is, when he called me, when he messaged me, I said, I've been wanting to get in touch with you guys because I've been wanting to have you guys here on the podcast. So I want to go to your story, because if we go earlier on to my
Mm-hmm.
introduction to you, international speaker, organizer ng conferences. I mean,
Naman.
not these different things, di ba? Di ba?
Okay.
Ang ganda ng sumulat ng ng
Sabi ko sa inyo,
profile mo.
it sounds better than it is. But yes, I've been here for about 18 years. I've done a lot of healthcare events. So in terms of
Okay.
where I was before MedHive, that's where I was. I was organizing these conferences in the healthcare and life science sector. So
Okay.
I
How did you get to, if
managed.
you don't mind, a step back a bit,
Sure.
how did you, tell me a bit more of how you found your way to Singapore, if you don't mind me asking you.
Oh, wow. Okay. I guess it's the usual answer for OFWs. It's really to find, greener pastures. There you
Okay.
go. Yeah. And I found myself in B2B conferences. It wasn't something that I used to do. I was in the academia back when I was in the Philippines.
What
Um,
you were a professor of what anong tinuturo mo?
Economics. So,
Economics.
yes.
No, I'm an I'm
Don't
an
ask
I'm
me
an
anything
I'm an
about economics.
I'm an econ graduate also, but that was I think I'm guessing more or less we're the same age.
Yes,
We're
I
in the
think
same age
so.
range. If you recognize my
Exactly.
face, then we're probably in the
I
same age
do.
range. Okay,
People my age
so
do. You're an icon of our age. But yes, so it was some time back when I was, teaching economics, and then when I started building a family, then you realize that I have to, expand the
okay.
horizon, and unfortunately, that would always include the option of going out of the country and
Mhm.
finding, better paying jobs. And yeah, by God's grace, I came to Singapore. I managed to land a job. I started from the bottom,
Okay.
and I think this is something that every of the OFW would could relate with. You start from the bottom, no matter where you graduated, even if you have a master's degree from the top university in the
Mhm.
Philippines. When you go out, you start at the beginning
Mhm.
because they don't know you. So really, the fastest way to move is to show them what you can do, not what's your degree, who you know, because it
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. Yeah.
Very very important. I want to point that out because uh, the culture here sometimes in the Philippines, the entitlement mentality. I graduated from here. I am from this
Mm,
family. This is my
yes.
background. Therefore, I deserve this job. I deserve this
Uh-huh.
career. And it's a nice wake up. I mean, it should be something people realize here as well. But in Singapore, it was a very
Oh, yes.
meritorious uh, career for you. I mean, you went up because of your own merit, diba?
Yeah. Can I share a story?
Please,
This is
please.
something okay. So when I was using and I was trying to look for a job, what was the first thing you think about is something that is related to what you used to do, right? So in the
Oh,
Philippines, I was a professor of economics. And so I did apply for teaching positions. The funny thing is, so I don't know what year your audience can relate to, but during my time, when you draw a graph, you pick up a chalk, and you draw it on the board. That was what I was trained to do. I can build a graph from scratch,
same,
right?
same here,
Yeah,
diba?
but here's the big but. When I was doing teaching demos, and I have no laptop, I have no thumb drive, they were actually surprised. Like, how can you teach without a laptop? How can you teach without a thumb drive? Like, where's your thumb drive? And to me, it was as you say, it's a wake up call because they they cannot function without that. I can, and I was actually, and this is a funny experience. I will always share this with pride. They actually uh, told me after teaching them that, okay, you seem to know what you're talking about, etc., etc., but we're not sure if you can operate a PowerPoint. And it struck me, they're looking for somebody who can present a PowerPoint presentation. For me, it wasn't a necessity. See, and then that's when you realize that now you have to adjust. It's not
Mhm.
what you know previously, it's how you integrate into the new culture. And I think that's one of the things about Singapore is their technology driven initiatives are really amazing. So I had to do that. I had to shift and see what is this technological advancements that they're trying to implement, because back in my day you draw a graph from scratch, and
Yes,
then the
yes.
most amazing thing you can do is if you have an acetate. I don't even know if people know that.
Okay,
Okay,
I remember. I was there. I gave my thesis
please
presentation on
explain to
acetate.
them what
Yeah,
that is. It's
I know
okay. So
exactly
an
what.
acetate, for those who don't know, my goodness, how do you explain it? It's a piece of, yeah,
In a
plastic that
projector,
projects.
not
Exactly.
in a acetate in your projector over there. And
Yeah.
to make it more high tech, what you would do is you'd get a marker and just draw on the acetate so it could flash on the screen,
Those
right?
were the days, RJ. Those were the days. But anyway, so I came from that, and I now come into a culture where they are just having, you know, uh, laptop presentations, and the students are all in their laptops. It's something new. So, and people thought, I cannot live there. I cannot succeed. I cannot thrive. But if you are full of pride, like you mentioned earlier that there's a culture, that entitlement culture. So
Hmm.
if I had not overcome that, I'd probably go back and stay where I was comfortable. So I didn't do that. I persevered, and as I said, you start from the bottom. You slowly learn, and you slowly learn from good people. I think that's also another thing. And then you climb up slowly.
Okay. And then how did you so from there, how did you end up organizing conferences, particularly for the medical field? I mean, that's the part
Oh,
that's your next step, right? So
yes,
that's leading you towards
right.
Medhyve. Oh,
Yeah,
what happened
yeah,
there?
yeah. So I was in an industry that would serve the different industries. Like there's medical, there's mining, there's energy. The least sexy industry during that time is medical, because the richest people will be in energy or mining, oil and gas,
Hmm.
shipping. So those are the sexy industries. I actually stayed with medical, and and everybody else left that industry, because it was, one, it's difficult, it's not easy, and then number two, it's not as sexy during that time, because the sexy other industries, that's where they went, which made me the only, well, not the only, one of the very few who stayed and built an expertise in the industry. So I built a network in pharma, medical device,
I
hospitals.
see.
Yeah, so that's where it started. After a few years of working, my entrepreneurial spirit started to
Oh, how
wake up.
nice.
Yes. So
How did
I
how
resigned.
did it wake? How did it wake? How did it wake up? I want to know. I want to know how that came about.
I don't know the answer, because it just does. I don't know. There wasn't a specific reason. My kids were all very young, but you feel that I know enough now. I can now start building something on my own.
Mhm.
So I resigned from a full time job. I didn't have another job to jump to, and people thought I was crazy. Maybe I was. And then I started building small businesses, and mind you, I had a lot of failures. This is something
Mhm.
that I'm not ashamed to say. There were a lot of failures. There were businesses that you tried won't work, businesses that worked but you trusted the wrong people,
Mhm.
businesses that worked, but some other external uh, things would happen, so you need to pivot and change or
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
So it's these lessons that I carry with me.
I love that because that's people don't often get to hear enough that the biggest trial being any successful entrepreneur you've seen, you don't see the battle scars, but I mean like for
Yeah,
me, I've had so many businesses that have up to now
exactly.
you have that sense that you'll fail, but you have to just accept the failure, diba? How do you I mean, if I hope you don't mind, but as they're listening to the show, how should they think about failure, or how should you
Failure.
think about also you know, uh, and multiple failures. How should you treat it? As a tuition fee? How do you look at it? How do you see it?
That's a good word. So tuition fee, yes, it's a tuition fee. It's something that you need to pay for you to learn something. And and when I say learn, these are things that you don't learn in textbooks. Come on, I mean, we have degrees, we have these academic qualifications, but it doesn't guarantee success. It's really these experiences you have with people, with processes, and with risks, and they're not cheap. That's the thing.
Mhm. They're
So
not cheap,
when
na.
they're not cheap, mahal ang tuition fee. And one thing I also learned is, when you realize that a lesson costs a lot, the next step would be, when you start again, you have to find people who have been successful,
Mhm.
mentors, learn from them, so that you don't pay it anymore, because I'm sure they did. Diba? Like, some of these people who've gone ahead of you have paid the tuition fee. So
Mhm.
listen to them, learn, and then accept suggestions, accept advice. Because if not, you will have to pay it, and it's not going to be cheap.
How did you find your mentors over there in Singapore? Because and what was the biggest thing that you picked up? I hope you don't mind because this is what people listen to the show for. They want to find out. Okay, wow, this is really great learnings. But how do you find mentors and how do you know that that's the parang correct mentor for you?
Right. You know what? So I stalk my mentors. I stalk them. I really
Wow.
do. I know it's not sexy to say that, but I stalk them. So if I hear somebody speaking on stage and what he's talking about is something that relates to me and that impacts
Mm.
me, and I feel that I want to learn from this person, I would find you. It's probably on, I don't know, LinkedIn. I would find articles of you, recordings of you, and I would find out where you're speaking next so that
Oh,
I'll be
stalker
there.
ka talaga, stalker.
Yes.
Stalker
And,
levels
and,
yan.
and the thing is, I think it's because also I'm in the event industry. I know that speakers, after they speak, are open to talking to the audience. So it's very different when, let's say, you're in a cafe, you see him and you approach him. That's different, okay. But if they speak and you approach him after, they're very very open. So yes, that's one thing. I do stalk the people that I think would be very good mentors, but then those that I don't have access to, like the international thought leaders, then you read about what they do, the lessons they're willing to share. Yeah, so there.
Wow. Apple Mac Ighara saying here in the chat box, fail fast, learn fast, and always keep your growth mindset. That's right, Apple. It's really when you are an entrepreneur, for me, you really just have to keep the growth mindset to keep things going
Yeah.
because failure is inherent in the model. That's what I would that's what
Yes,
I would say. Failure is inherent in
yes,
the
and
model.
and actually, when you fail, you pick up so many things, so that you have this. Now you have more, more insights, more ideas on your next,
That's your own
project.
AI. That's your own AI going
Yes,
on over
you
there.
learn. Yeah, you learn, and then you
Yeah.
build your intelligence.
Yeah, you
Correct.
build your intelligence. You build your, I guess, what you call business intelligence. Very interesting
Yes.
story here so far. I hope you guys are enjoying this story because I definitely am. Now, let's move a bit forward and let's bring ourselves closer now to when you did put up Medhive. So, tell me what is the context? You were doing medical conferences at the time, and then how did you pick up the pain points that led you to saying this is an opportunity that needs to
Okay.
be solved?
Right. So because I was moving in the medical slash innovation sector, I've always been open to ideas like what kind of technology or innovation can I actually bring to the Philippines? And specifically in the healthcare sector. Why? Because I'm a sandwich generation. I don't know if the audience can relate to that. So a sandwich generation is somebody who takes care of the parents,
Hmm.
and you also take care of your children. See,
Yes.
and when you are taking care of elderly parents, one of the main issue is healthcare, because you always have to get them treated, checked, by medicines. It's
And they were in
it's
the Philippines. They were in the Philippines, ba? Your
so
parents?
so growing up, I have that experience. Like there was like every month you're in the hospital, you're bringing
Oh.
your mom or your dad because many different conditions. So
Mhm.
I've been open to that segment, going to the hospitals, dealing with doctors, nurses, um, being treated, paying, and and when I came to Singapore, it's a very different system. So Singapore has one of the best healthcare system in the world, and it's very efficient, and it doesn't need to be super, you know, robots or high tech technology. It's really processes. It's processes that they were able to um, improve, that makes things so much better. So I was already in the mindset that I I need to do something for the Philippines, because I'll be a patient. My friends, my family, they will all be patients at one point in their life. Maybe not now, but they will be. So if there's something I can do to improve that, I need to do that. So I'm open to these ideas. 20 yeah, 20 years ago, telemedicine has already been discussed.
Mhm.
And it's not a new thing. I'm sure right now it's already being talked about, because teleconsult, telemedicine, this is not a new thing. So I was actually looking, that is that something that we can bring to the Philippines. um, Obviously the answer is I didn't go there, because there are so many things to to consider. So it was, I think, 2017. See, it was a long time ago. 2017 when I organized a healthcare innovation event in Singapore, and I met with the Philippine delegation, right?
Mm.
And if you have an event of 300 hospital executives, your most favorite would be your kababayan. I mean, you would have to talk to probably most of the other guests, but you will spend time with your kababayan. So
Hmm.
that's where I met the Private Hospital Association of the Philippines, then president, and we had this conversation. He was saying that, you know what, all of these robots and AI and whatever fancy things, they're good to have, but do you know what the Philippines really needs? And he described to me the problem, uh, and it's actually a simple problem. Like they just don't have access to good quality, better priced medical supplies. So that's where it started. So I felt that this is the problem that needs to be solved because it can be solved. It's not a super difficult problem. We can solve this if we build the right infrastructure, get the right people going. It can be solved. So that's where it started, and from that point on, yeah,
I
I
like
met
that.
with
That,
my.
that was your light bulb moment right there
Yes,
during that
yes,
conference there, and
yes.
and and the reason that you are starting it in the Philippines. I mean, there's two reasons you can do it. Of course, number one, the start with why is like wow, because I'm doing something that's good for the country, right? But
Mm-hmm.
aside from that one, what did you see aside from that one? Was it the economic potential or some people I've talked to many expats and Philams come to the Philippines to do business. They mention because there's a demographic dividend here right now in the Philippines. It's the size of the population that's growing. What
Right.
did you think that aside from saying it's good for the country, what
Mm-hmm.
said that it might be a lucrative business venture to build in the Philippines?
Um, because it's a $1 billion business only in the Philippines. That's one. So if you're looking at it from the business perspective, it's a no-brainer. This is a market that will continue to grow, and the healthcare system it will be predominantly private payers that will be hand shouldering the cost of healthcare. And yeah, we know the system, we know the culture, we know how Filipinos think. We have friends in the industry, so it's a fast way to move, to build, to test, and to revise. But also, I also from the very beginning, we already know, me and my co-founders know that this is not a Philippine only solution. Now, any market that would be inefficient, a developing market that has inefficient way of hospitals, healthcare providers buying their medical supplies, the solution that we will develop will be applicable to them. So, can you imagine the potential? It's not just Philippines; it's Indonesia, Malaysia, the rest of the growing Southeast Asia countries. We can grow further. We can grow LATAM. We can grow Africa. So yeah, that's really exciting, isn't it?
And I find it very exciting, especially. But what I'm also seeing right now is that the benefit of what they say, your network is your net worth. Because I mean, it was not just you developing, but over the years, the connections to both the doctors and to the suppliers through what you were doing. Because
Yes.
technically, you were a marketing person, but your job was to connect both, and you were able to put the dots to connect the dots together.
Yes. So yes, that's yes to that, and sometimes, so true, network. No, yeah, your network is your net worth, but at the same time, it's also the fact that your net worth trusts you. I mean, your network could
Yes, that's
probably know
that's the
you.
additional factor. That's the additional factor
Correct.
there. That's right. That's
Yes.
right. Oh,
Yes.
very well said. Now, El, okay, let's start from okay. I have a great idea. What
What is
next?
this?
So what was your
Oh,
what next? Oh, maganda yung idea na to, di ba? I like it. What do I do now? What
okay.
did you do?
So,
What did you do after that?
then I recruited two very they're still young, brilliant, talented, driven co-founders. And I think for the audience who are listening, how do you make your idea work? It's finding the right people. So um, and I have to mention them at this point. Nigel, who just messaged us earlier, is a CEO. So he has this very um important understanding of the Philippine healthcare industry. So
Mhm.
so so he can operate. He doesn't need 10,000 interviews to understand what's the problem. He and his family has been in the industry, so
Okay.
he's actually one of those who feel the problem. Okay, and then another co-founder, Gab, is I think he's the youngest CTO in the country.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll be very confident to say that he's the youngest CTO in the country, and he's built our infrastructure from scratch. He's now leading a team of what, 8 devs, and yeah, these two co-founders have done amazing things. So,
But how did you find them?
how did I
Especially
find?
remotely. Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know
Okay.
if you found them pre-pandemic or during the
Oh,
pandemic. How did you find them? How
okay.
did you put it together from there? Oh,
So Nigel's family is a family friend. So family friend. Okay,
mhm.
and so his mom and dad are my friends, my family friends. So parang anak ko na sila. And then Nigel went to school with Gab. So they met in
I
UP.
see.
Yeah.
Okay. O, sa mga scholar ng bayan pala yan to start off
Scholar ng
a,
bayan.
a,
Yes.
a really
Tayong
great
lahat.
company
Ako
for you.
rin.
And
Yes.
then from there, tell us what did you do next? Because some people, this is the part that gets tricky for them, the first timers in the industry. Once you guys got together, what did you do next?
Then okay, so we after putting together the vision, so I think that's very important. Come together and set a vision, because it's important to know what to do next, but you have to set the direction.
Hmm.
Like if your direction is to the north, if your next step is to the south, it's not going to help you. So first set the direction. Where are you headed? What do you want to achieve? So from there, the small steps that we did really is to build build the build a working infrastructure, a website, and then get it tested, speak to our users. So we managed to get our first few hospital users, gather feedback, change, improve, and from there on, it's snowballed into now a network of, well, we have about 700 registered users. That's a mix of hospitals, clinics, corporates, even individual practicing doctors, and about 5,000 SKUs and growing.
Wow. For people who don't know SKU, the stock keeping units. In other words, those are the number of different products that they carry
Yes.
on Medhive. Now, with that, Ellie, as you were building the business, like we said, you've had previous experience in other businesses where it was also, there's failure, there's success, there's failure, there's success. When you were doing this one, um, was there a point where you were saying this might not work and you might want to give up already? Because I mean, to be honest, it happens to all of us, right, in business.
Yes, yes, for sure. But to answer that question, no, it hasn't come yet. But you know what? I won't be
Oh
surprised if it
wow,
does,
wow.
because because it will. And I think my co-founders and I and the rest of the team, we've built that culture that we're not afraid to fail, because we're fail fast, because then you know what you shouldn't be doing, and then you should start doing what you should be, right? And yeah, it's not a walk in the park, but it's definitely something that excites us. There you go.
Great, great. And then when was that point for you now for the business that you said when you put out the startup, you said, "Oh my God, this is going to work." I mean, what's that point? You go, "Yes." Like, was it when you won? I know that you joined 2 pitching competitions and you did good. Tell me a bit more.
Yes.
Was that the high point for you? Tell me what was the point where you said, this might actually work. This might actually do good."
Right. Right. So yes. So last year we were the Philippine Startup Week double champion. So we won two, Philippine Startup Week championship title last year, and that was something that's special, because like, oh wow, people are recognizing us. See, I mean, in the industry, the startup industry is actually recognizing us. So that's one milestone. Another milestone that I could think of right now is very recently we also won another pitching competition by Merck. So Merck is a big pharma. It's an international pharma company, and for them to choose Medhyve from among the many different healthcare startups across Asia, it's not just Philippines. It's another validation that hey, we're probably onto something really good. But to answer your question, it's really the funding round, RJ. It's when people actually
Wow,
entrust
of
you
course.
with the money.
Money,
So
the
it's
money.
that funding
Show me the
round, of
money.
course. Correct. They can give you all these awards, but then we need that resource to grow and to move forward. So yes, when we close the pre-seed funding round, and it's a bit the figure is a bit odd. It's 407.5K US dollars, right? And the reason is because we're
Hmm, hmm.
oversubscribed. So we were planning to raise 400,000, and more people trusted us. So they it's an oversubscribed funding round, which is something that we are very proud of.
Oh, it's like 7,000. Sige, pito kayo. Pwede kayo maglagay ng 1,000 bawat isa.
Yes. So we choose the people who would join us because it's smart money, right? It's not just money. It's not anybody who wants to give you money. You should be accepting. I think that's another lesson for startups that not 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 all money is smart, and yeah. So we do choose who to partner with.
Wala sa may signals. Sorry, I think it's my signal. Sorry about that. Elle, can you hear me? I think it's my signal. Can you, if you don't mind, if you can say that again, you're choosing the people who you brought in for the oversubscribed portion. Tama ba ako dyan? Oh, please unmute. Please unmute lang, Elle.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yes. Yes. So yes, we I am, and again, this is privileged because we have had offers of investment, but we are now choosing who would be a best fit for us because we are relentless in our journey. We will get there. I'll be please pardon me, but we are very ambitious. So I'd like to call us a
Mhm.
unicorn. We will be right. So now we need to find the right people and the right investment groups, the right investors to journey with us. There you go.
I'm gonna go back again to the chat box. We've got Apple Mac Igharas commenting again, saying it's one of the best privileges to have founders who empower and enable their team to be the best that they can be. Ayan na, may bonus na. Apple Mac, maraming salamat,
Yes.
Apple.
So Apple is working with our growth and partnership team. So she's she's always there to help us grow very fast and partner with the
And
right people.
she's also one of your remote workers. Where's Apple based out of?
Yes, Apple is in QC, so she's
Wow.
in QC. Yeah, she's not in the
And,
provinces.
and
We
where do
do
you,
have people from
not in the province.
provinces.
Okay, sabi ni Apple Mac Igharas, my bank account is waiting. Okay, sige Apple. Pinisibo ka na dito sa show. Okay lang yan. Okay. Now, Elle, if you don't mind, so when you get your first round of funding,
Mhm.
how do you know what to prioritize, where to put the money in when you get it around? Because of course it's a nice
Oh,
validation. Now you got to think
yeah.
about where do we put the money, and how should founders think about where to put the money when they first get it?
Even before we were racing, we already know where we're gonna put the money. So there you go. It wasn't a problem we needed to solve after the money. We already know
Mhm.
where to put the money. That's why we know that we're racing for 100K because it will be allotted to all of these buckets. So that wasn't a question that we had to answer after the money. It's already
Mhm,
set.
mhm. And where's it going?
So it's really strengthening our infrastructure, our tech infrastructure, and our marketing as well. So we're investing on a lot of people in sales, in marketing, in business development. So really, what we want to do now is strengthen our base, our tech, and then get the right people to share the message. And the message is
Wow.
really we are here to digitize procurement on the hospital side and also the market access of our vendor side. So pharma, medical device, consumables, that's those are the profiles that we serve.
Well, knowing that so far, where do you see Medhyve 5 years from now here in the Philippines and I guess across the region? What is that ambitious vision that you have?
Oh, 5 years from now, we'll probably be starting on our third country. So, as I said, our ambition is really global. We would like to be able to start on our second market in 2 years. And then, so in 5 years, we should be opening our third country market. And we've already identified these countries. We've already started talks with these countries. In fact, we have a very close um, relationship slash partnership with one of the biggest pharma in Indonesia. So this is something
Wow.
that it's in our sights, and yeah, it's actually exciting. RJ, the start of the year, so this the company called Calbe Pharma invited us, so invited Medhyve to join their national sales conference. So all of their med reps and the entire team of that big pharma company in Indonesia were there. So it was a digital event, and they invited Medhyve to show them that this is the next thing that you should be looking at, because in the Philippines there's this company that's doing this thing, and I think what we're doing is not something that's easy to comprehend. And that's a challenge. We're trying to transform an industry.
Mhm.
So, and once we're able to do that, and once we're able to show everybody that this is how much money you save hospitals, and this is how much more sales you have, vendors, pharma, medical device, um, then more people can understand what we're trying to say. Because one of the things about innovative things is it's difficult for people to understand it if they haven't experienced it. Think of
Mhm.
our Grab. You have Grab, right? Or is it
Yeah, of course.
Uber?
Yeah.
It's Grab, right? So imagine 10 years ago, if I would tell you, one of these days, you can just type something on your phone, a stranger will pick you up, and you will be, brought to wherever your destination is. It would
Mhm.
be so difficult for people to comprehend that, right? But now
Exactly.
it's a way of life. It's a way of life. People can no longer function well without Grab. So that's our ambition. That one of these years, Medhive will be the go-to, help for hospitals, clinics to get to access the best supply at the best time that they need to be accessing it.
Wow. Really great story that I'm seeing that where you've been able to take Medhive and where you plan to take it in the future. Now, in that industry that you're in, like you said, opportunities present themselves to you, no? In that whole medical sphere, especially here in the Philippines, what are you seeing from your perspective are other areas or pockets of opportunities where entrepreneurs can still operate in, that they can
Ooh,
still thrive in, kaya?
okay. You know what? Um, so I'm not gonna. Okay, I will stay in my healthcare field, but I would have to say, um, entrepreneurs should now look at things like, and this is so exciting and it excites me so much, the metaverse. Why? What is the metaverse? Find out because there's so much to learn about it. What is Web3? What is that? Um, it excites me so much because one day, again, we will be we will be in that world where Web3 is such a part of the our world. So find out what that is, and then find opportunities. So in our industry, I'm gonna predict there will be a lot of AI driven solutions, not only in medical supply procurement, also in diagnosis, in maintaining health. Robotics will continue to grow as well. Um, what else? Um yeah, blockchain will probably be used for more secure data transmission, interoperability. So things like this, they pose a lot of opportunities. So if you're an entrepreneur, look into these things, find out where your interest is, and then solve a problem using this innovation and technology. Oh, did I lose you, RJ? Okay. Yeah, I think we lost RJ. Does that mean I'm supposed to host the show or you're back?
Elle, so sorry, the difficulties of living in a developing country. Pasensya
You're
na lang.
back. It won't be like this for long. 5G is coming. Okay,
I'm
may 6G na nga eh. China is already developing 6G, but yes.
so sorry. Yeah, I have to go back again to the opportunities that you said. You were talking about opportunities emerging. Please go, if you can continue over there.
Yeah, so I was just saying, there would definitely be growing opportunities in areas involving AI. Whether it's in diagnosing some diseases, treating diseases. There would also be continuing remote consultation, monitoring, remote everything in terms of patient care. Right now in different countries they already have hospital to the home, so one of these years the hospital will move to your home, so everything you need in the hospital will be available to you at home, and that will be through your a gadget. Robotics will also grow in the medical field. Robot assisted surgeries, hospitality robots in hospitals. So what else? Yeah, and then I was saying metaverse and Web3.
Metaverse.
Yes, would be the next thing that will grow exponentially. So find out what metaverse is. Find
Wow.
out what is Web3. Web3 is exciting.
Very exciting. Yeah, we've actually had some guests talk about the metaverse, and we actually talked about NFTs in the last couple of episodes. So very excited to see that even there that you're seeing that there is potential there in that industry. Now, I know that you found yourself in the medical field and doing Medhive, no? But for example, this wasn't what you were doing. If you weren't in this field at all, what would be the opportunity that you'd be pursuing right now?
Wow, that is a very good question. And I think I'll be involved in something in the metaverse. I'll probably be building something in a metaverse, being involved in Web3 technologies and businesses. Yeah, something that would have to do with technology, something innovative, something that transforms.
Got that. Got that. Very interesting. And as we start to wrap up this talk, it's been very interesting, and I've learned so much, especially about the entrepreneurial journey that you've had, and from everything you've had, from your successes, from your failures, and from this news business. What are the three life lessons that maybe you can share with some of the aspiring and even struggling and current entrepreneurs that you wish you knew or you would like to share?
Okay, I'm thinking. All right. So I think three things really is number one, people are important. So when you build your business, when you move, when you grow, people are important because people will make the technology move in the direction that they wish it to. So even if you have the most high tech, most advanced technology, if you don't have the right people, it's not gonna be sustainable. you know so think about people, think about how people react, feel, and think about people as lives, not just bonds, not just dollar signs. So I think that's one. What else? Always remember your why. I've always been sharing that. There will be times in the entrepreneurial journey that it will be tough, when people may not believe in you. when people may ridicule you at some point. So remember why you started something, because and then you have to anchor your every decision and every move on the why. Why are you doing this? So don't you know don't forget that. And probably the last would be, um, have a purpose beyond your business, beyond whatever it is that you're going, beyond your startup, beyond your work. Have a purpose, because whatever you achieve should be sown into others. So that could be, a charitable giving, that could be mentoring others, that could be sharing your experience. Just be purpose driven. There you go.
I love that, being purpose driven, and I like that what you're doing. The business that you found is something that you found in your home country. It's truly purpose driven, but at the same time, hey, it could be $1 billion industry which can grow not just here in the Philippines but all over the world. Thank you so much, Elle, for waving your proudly Pinoy flag all the way from Singapore. Looking forward to the growth of the business and hopefully becoming the next unicorn.
Thank you so much, RJ, and thank you for the time you've given me to share my story.
Again, thanks so much, guys, for listening to the RJ Ledesma podcast. We'll see you again for the next podcast on Tuesday next week. Again, this has been RJ Ledesma. Elle, thanks so much. We'll see you guys
Thank
next week.
you.
Thank you. Elle, stay
Bye.
around, huh? Hold on.
Sure.